गुड इवनिंग टू ऑल। आज केंद्रीय विद्यालय बनतालाब नेशनल एजुकेशन डे सेलिब्रेट कर रहा है इन द ओकेशन ऑफ बर्थ एनिवर्सरी डॉक्टर मौलाना अबुल कलाम आज़ाद, फर्स्ट यूनियन मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडियन गवर्नमेंट। और आज हम इस पे इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ एजुकेशन पे सेमिनार कंडक्ट करवा रहे हैं। सेमिनार देने के लिए हमने डॉक्टर ईशा शर्मा, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर जम्मू यूनिवर्सिटी एंड ROMC एंड अटल इनोवेशन मिशन, तो डॉक्टर ईशा शर्मा इस पे सेमिनार देंगी। तो मैं माइक एंड कैमरा मैडम को हैंड ओवर करता हूँ, सो प्लीज।
A very good afternoon to the organizers of Kendriya Vidyalaya Bantalab for organizing this seminar, which was very important to take place on the eve of National Education Day. And on this eve, I would like to say that across globe, it's not only the matter of country, matter of geography, or matter of A country or B country. Education is all pervasive. It is everywhere. It is for all. It is for the people. Henceforth, when we are talking on national policy on education, the national policy on education is actually an extensive document which covers all aspects of education from primary, or we can say elementary, to university level, जिसमें हम adult education की भी बात करते हैं, and in both the setups, whether we are talking of rural setups or we are talking about the urban India. And the policy जो है, जो education policy है, it was formulated by the government of India to promote education amongst India's people, for the people of India. And the first national policy on education was promulgated in 1968 by the government of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and the second by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. And I must give you a very brief snapshot of what national policy on education is all about. See, when we are talking about national policy on education, on the eve of National Education Day, which is actually celebrated to commemorate the birth anniversary of Maulana Azad ji, actually the person was the first education minister for India, and it was him who actually created the whole architecture of education for the India and for the Indian masses. He has done an enormous work when it comes to drafting of the education policy. India में education policy कैसी होनी चाहिए, rural setup को कैसे cover करना है, how to cover the urban setup, what should be the basic thrust areas of the education. Means whether we should target massification of education, how we should take care of the dropout rate, how we can take care of the enrollment rates. So all this is part of the national policy on education, and that is why this day is so important, because today is an era when we cannot imagine about a world without education. And education also is critical. Why? Because it always makes us lifelong learners. We cannot say that our education stops till we are into the university. No, education stops with our last breath only. So, what is more important and critical to understand is that how the education policy, how the National Education Day जो celebrate किया जाता है, how the education over the years have changed, how the whole architecture of education over the years have changed, and what has actually changed. See, we were living in an era when in 1968 Maulana Abul Kalam Azad ji sat down and he formulated the national policy on education, wherein he actually thought of creating a nation with those masses who are highly qualified, educated, who have got the basic abilities to read, write, comprehend, analyze, so that our inner faculties of mind can just open up, and we can give better meaning to this world. We can give better meaning to this world, isn't it? But over the years, the notion of education have changed. There was a time when we used to say that reading, writing is all about education. But now, reading, writing, and problem solving is what we call as an education. This is the critical difference between the way education was taught over a period of a time and presently the way education is being talked upon, is being delivered, or is being used upon, right? So, when we are talking about education, it is actually the process of facilitating learning. Now, when we are saying learning, try to understand that this learning can come from any source. It is not that you only and only learn from your teachers. I think the first learning that happens to us is from our family. We learn a lot from our family, those social systems, the norms, the value systems, the beliefs, and more importantly the ethics. This is something that our family gives us. We inherit these things from our family. So our first institution from where we are educated, from where we receive education, from where we receive that lifetime, the basic fundamental blocks of lifetime learning is our family, isn't it? So that is why we say that education is the process of facilitating learning, और वी कैन से द एक्विजिशन ऑफ नॉलेज. बट जितना नॉलेज को एक्वायर करना इंपॉर्टेंट है, उतना ही नॉलेज को शेयर करना भी इंपॉर्टेंट है. सो नॉलेज एक्विजिशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट, but more important is, more critical is knowledge sharing. It has to be shared to masses. Why? Because जब हम अपना कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पढ़ते हैं, we talk about equality. Equality is very critical. When we are talking about knowledge, when we are talking about education, we should be very sure that we have to create an equitable world, a world wherein all masses are educated, they are knowledgeable, they are better able to understand the world, they are better able to understand the state of affairs. And that is where the National Education Day is being recalled upon, is being thought upon. See, I have, as I have earlier told you, that it commemorates the birth anniversary of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad ji, who was the first education minister of India. And actually, in 2008, September 11, MHRD ने ये डिसाइड किया that this day will commemorate the birth anniversary of the person who thought of making India an educated India. India, a civilized India. India, a country which will show intellectual pathway not only to India but also to the rest of the world, isn't it? So every individual has a right to education. This is something that Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad ji always said, that education is not for any particular caste, it is not for any particular creed, it is not the personal property of any religious group, neither it is for the have. Matlab, there is no haves or have nots. It is for all. Education is for all. That is why it is the fundamental right of a person to have the education. But students, today, on the National Education Day, I must tell you all that with every right comes responsibility, isn't it? Whenever we talk of education, we say, ये हमारा हक है, हमें education मिलनी चाहिए. But whenever we talk about right, one thing which we should be clear is that with every right comes the responsibility. We have to be responsible. What kind of responsibility? See, I would say that you all are privileged, that you have got access to one of the best educational institutions, but all are not that much privileged. Now, why all are not that much privileged? Because there are so many students, there are so many children who don't have even basic access to schools, or who go to schools only because the schools are sponsoring them free midday meals. So look at the motivation behind sending a student back to school is not for education, but because, yes, somewhere down the line, the school is sponsoring the breakfast, school is sponsoring the lunch, or maybe the school is sponsoring the evening snack. So that is why let us send our children. So this is a game of mindset change in mindset is very, very, very critical. Why it is very critical? Because we don't want to send our child to school only because he wants to have food or something like that. He has to gain some knowledge over there, and once he receives that knowledge, he has to share that knowledge with the have nots. So there are have, you are the haves, because see, you are talking, you're discussing, you're deliberating on National Education Day, but there are millions of children, millions of students who are not able to have access to such like workshops or to such like seminars. So you people have to turn on to be the haves for those have nots. That is the basic fundamental of being educated. So what is education? साक्षरता आप किसको कहते हो? When you have got the knowledge to give meaning to the external world. Whenever we are talking about the external world, आप उसको कैसे meaning देते हो? For example, you get up early in the morning. Why do you say good morning to everyone? Or why do you wish everyone? What is the reason that you wish everyone, okay, good morning or good evening or good night? How are you? Who has made you learn all these things? There is a social system. The families have made you learn to how to respond to the environment. Likewise, when you are in school, you are in a formal structure. It is formal education system. That education teaches you that you have to follow certain rules and regulations. You have to qualify certain examinations. You have to choose your career likewise in the same manner. So the motto of education is to make you aware about the world, not only from one perspective, but from the multiple perspective. Not from one lens, but from the multiple lens. So that is why whenever we talk of education, education guarantees you good life. Now, what do you mean by good life? Good life means a life which is socially endorsed. जो socially कहते हैं कि yes, the person is a doctor, the person is an engineer, he is a teacher, or for that matter, he is a pilot or he is a scientist. It means you are living a good human life. And who has given you that good human life? Because when you are born, you are neither a doctor, nor you are an engineer, nor you are a scientist, nor you are an any kind of innovator. It is just the matter of choices that you make in your life. So I think education, if I have to define what education is an enabler of right choices for the students, for the young minds. And when you are making right choices, it opens up multiple doors of possibilities for you. Like something that you look is like impossible becomes automatically possible to you, becomes possible for you all. So what converts impossible into possible is the education. And I'm again telling you that you are the privileged class, you are the lucky ones that you have got the access to education, and you should not consider education something that you receive as a gift. Because what we are encountering day in and day out is that we day in and day out are taking education as something that we will be getting, right? After 10th we will be promoting to 11th, from 11th we will be promoting to 12th. See, there's a difference between achieving a degree, attaining a degree, and earning a degree. Education is all about earning knowledge. It is not about attaining degrees or attaining any kind of, entitlements. Like, you have to earn education. You have to understand what is the real value of the education. And what is the real value of the education? That is very, very important for you to understand. So when I question students that how education helps you, so they most of the time tells me that education is a yardstick that helps us to understand what is good and what is bad. And then there are certain students who tells me that ma'am, education is a benchmark which always makes us to realize that we have to achieve something better over than the yesterday. जो हमने कल पढ़ा, it was not enough. We have to gear up and we have to learn new things. And that is what today's education is all about. It is about learning new skills. It is about reskilling yourself. Because I think, I don't know what is my audience, what is the composition of this audience. I think we cram physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology to a larger extent, isn't it? Even for that matter, computers. But when we talk about newer skills, it is all about robotics. It is all about computing. It is all about coding. It is all about artificial intelligence. So the question is that were these skills so important 20 years back? No, they were not important. But nowadays, these are the new learning. These are the new skills that you as students have to learn. But many a time student question me that, ma'am, why should we learn these things? Because this is not in our syllabi. This is not in our curriculum. See, when you talk about syllabi or when you talk about curriculum, always remember that curriculum and syllabi is the minimum threshold. It is the minimum threshold eligibility that you have to pass. It is the minimum. इतना तो करना ही है ताकि आप 7th क्लास से 8th क्लास में जा सके या 10th से 11th में जा सके. There is a lot beyond the syllabi, and this is what is today's education all about. When it started in 1968, Maulana Azad ji thought of making India an India wherein people should have basic reading, writing skills, basic communication skills. But over the period of a time, with the coming up of technology, with the coming upon new industries, new corporates, new markets have emerged, globalization हो गया है, everything is connected. आज आप देखते हैं कितना कुछ ई कॉमर्स के थ्रू होता है, कितनी ही इलेक्ट्रॉनिक चेन्स को हम यूज करते हैं. I think you all know about Amazon, you all know about Flipkart, you all know about eBay, you all are on your mobile phones and gadgets. Technology has got so deep immersed into ourselves, which has made us, which has created an urgency on our part to learn new skills. So that is why, in coming times, a student who is studying fifth standard or who is in sixth standard, he or she has to learn artificial intelligence, whether by choice or by need. So, what is changing? The elements of education are continuously changing. And why they are changing? Because demand. What kind of demand is there in the market? 20 years back, we needed doctors. Today we need doctors with engineering skills as well. Yes, I think you must be knowing of this fact that today's one of the finest surgeries across globe, it's being done through robots. Robotics are important. So gone are the days when a doctor used to say that the doctor is MBBS or he has done his he's a doctorate in medicine, he has done his MD, and he's a doctor. No, everyone has to be a computer engineer nowadays. Everyone has to be a software engineer, whether you're a doctor, whether you are into humanities, whether you are a clerk, whatever you are, whether you are a teacher, at the end, at the back end, you have to be a computer engineer. Why? Because technology is going to be with you. Technology today is not a separate vertical, it is with everything. Whatever you do, any specialization you have got, आप physics पढ़ते हैं, it has to be integrated with technology. आप chemistry पढ़ते हैं, it has to be integrated with technology. आप mathematics पढ़ते हैं, it has to be integrated with technology. So what we are seeing a sea of change. How education emerged from basic reading, writing, and how it completely entered into this technology mode. So, see, just imagine what would have been the challenge before the first education minister, Mr. Maulana Azad ji, when he drafted the national policy on education. And he has done commendable work. जो आपके IITs हैं आज या IISCs हैं, उनकी जो basic structuring है, it has all been done by the then education minister, and that is why he's also the recipient of highest civilian honor in India, and that is Bharat Ratna, and he has also been awarded Bharat Ratna in 1992. So these are the contributions of Maulana Azad ji towards the field of education, towards the field of literacy. And I think you all must be aware that when we are talking of country like India, we have got a lot of diversity. Even in education, we have got lots and lots of diversity. Now, what kind of diversity is there? You see, there are certain states who are highly literate states, जहाँ पे साक्षरता काफी ज्यादा है. And then there are certain states जहाँ पे साक्षरता उतनी ज्यादा नहीं है. Now, what are the reasons that there are certain states wherein literacy rates are high? There are certain states wherein literacy rate is, not high. Now, before we jump into those statistics, let me give you one quote that education is basic to the creation of an atmosphere in which human beings can meet one another on a plane of equality and friendship. When two people are equal, when both are educated, at least there is something in common. Na? What is common? You are educated, I am educated. And this education also brings people close to each other. जो हेट्रेड होती है, जो एनिमोसिटीज होती हैं, जो वॉर्स एंड वॉरफेयर्स होते हैं, वो ज्यादातर क्यों लड़े जाते हैं? बिकॉज ऑफ the idea of ignorance is there. We are ignorant. We don't know what are the consequences of war. I think many times बड़े सारे लोग कहते हैं इंडिया शुड गो अगेंस्ट पाकिस्तान एंड इंडिया शुड स्टार्ट अ वॉर अगेंस्ट पाकिस्तान. But try to understand what are the costs of having a war. What are the benefits of having the war? Costs are always higher than the benefits. So who is going to give you this idea of good and bad? It is the education, it is the kind of knowledge that you are having, right? And you indulge less into these bad activities when a person is educated. Why? Because his mind is open to a large number of things. And when I say mind, what do I mean by mind? He is responsive, he is a seeker. He is not only responding, he is seeking. He wants to get the knowledge, he wants to extract the knowledge, he wants to give meaning to any idea that a person is putting forth. And these are the cultures, these are the societies that live peacefully together. See, India is one of the best example of such country. We have got so many cultures here, we have got so many ethnicities here, we have got multiple religions here, but still people live, coexist, nurture, value, respect each other. Why? Because our basic education system is very, very strong. And what is that basic? Our family learnings, our moral system, our value system. It gives us an idea. हमें पहले से ये बता दिया जाता है कि you are not alone. You have to coexist. You have to learn to live with others. You have to accommodate others. Consensus building has to be there. So, this kind of education is critical in today's era because we are continuously seeing that people are engaging in so many activities, right? So, the difference between good and bad is all about how good we are educated. Are we learners? There is difference between a learner and an educationist. See, you may be educated, but it doesn't mean you are a learned person. I think you see a lots of people just doing nuances, creating mess, chaos, confusion, and they are highly educated people. And you many a times see that highly educated people, they're breaking the traffic lights, and many a times they just throwing the any kind of the any kind of waste material on road and not using the dustbin. That is the civic sense. You may be a master's MBA or MA, or you may be a PhD, but you may be zero in civic sense. Why? Because such learnings are actually what we call as an education. सो कहीं ना कहीं हमारी एजुकेशन में ये लूप होल्स भी हैं कि हम इस बिहेवियर को इंसेंटिवाइज नहीं कर पाते हैं. Incentivize means if we see someone or if we see a person showing any good civic behavior, there is no incentive to it. उसको उससे कुछ नहीं मिलेगा अगर वो वैसा continuously करता है. But हाँ, if he is scoring 90 out of 100, he may be getting a good college or something like that. So these are some of the loopholes, but it is better not to look towards the loopholes in the system, but rather to be an efficient part of the system. Try to improvise the system. And that is where the education is very, very critical, students. Also, when we are talking about education, आज हम नेशनल एजुकेशन डे पे चर्चा कर रहे हैं, तो नेशनल एजुकेशन, जब हम एजुकेशन की बात करते हैं, एज अ टीचर, एज अ मेंटर और एज एन एजुकेशनिस्ट, should build the capacities and the spirit of inquiry. Very important. हमें पहले से ही ये सिखाया जाता है कि we have to be either first, second or third. We cannot fail a class. So we have to promote culture of failure also. It is very important. No, why you will say, ma'am, why we have to promote the culture of failure? Why is it important? Because until and unless you will take risk, until and unless you will not experiment, आपको फेलियर्स को मैनेज करना नहीं आता है. इंडियंस आर वेरी बैड एट मैनेजिंग द फेलियर्स बिकॉज वी हैव बीन टॉट टू बी सक्सेसफुल. We have always been taught to be the topper of my class, or I can be second of my class, I can be third of my class. And somewhere down the line, the culture of learning is not there. The culture of failure is not there. So, सबसे पहले, the role of education is to trigger sense of inquiry in a child. अगर आपकी क्लास में there are 60 students and out of 60 students 50 students are those students who are seekers, who want to seek knowledge, so you will be bombarded by lots of what, why, how, when, कैसे होगा सर, what. वो सेंस ऑफ इंक्वायरी जगाना इज वेरी क्रिटिकल. जब तक सेंस ऑफ इंक्वायरी नहीं जगेगा, देयर विल बी नो एनालिटिकल रीजनिंग दैट यू विल बी यूजिंग. Again, you will be cramming up things, you will be mugging up things. There will be no rationality behind it, there will be no sense of inquiry, there will be no logic which you will be seeking to find the solution. So henceforth, when we are talking about today's education or national education ki jab hum baat kar rahe hain, one thing which is very important for you to understand is that today the national policy on education is looking towards you, the younger generation, as problem solvers, not someone who are only and only accumulating knowledge. No, they want students to be the problem solvers. और वो problem solver कब बनेंगे? When there will be sense of inquiry, when sense of inquiry will be deep rooted into them. और वो कैसे deep root करेंगी? जब आप सवाल करते हैं और आपको thumbs up मिलता है टीचर से. Very good, you are questioning. Wonderful, you are questioning. Amazing, you are questioning. Awesome, you are questioning. Come up with questions. So we have to create that culture of inquiry. I will not say culture of questioning because questioning is a very wrong word. I am saying culture of inquiry is critical. Culture of inquiry kya hai? You should promote people saying why, when, how, what, where, how. Is there an alternate way of doing this thing? Because jab tak sense of inquiry nahi aayegi, you will never be a seeker. You will always be a taker. So there is a difference between knowledge taker and knowledge seeker. Because seeker के पास हमेशा curiosity होती है. How a child responds, जो छोटा बच्चा होता है उसमें कितनी curiosity होती है, उसमें कितनी inquiry होती है. Why? Because he is always seeking something. He is not taking things from you. आप उसको बोलोगे ये अच्छा है, ये करो, ये अच्छा नहीं है, ये मत करो, वो कभी नहीं मानेगा. वो कहेगा क्यों, कैसे, मैं ये करना चाहता हूँ, मैं इसको वैसे करना चाहता हूँ. Because there is a sense of inquiry. But when he enters into the school, उसको system ये सिखाता है, you should always say yes. No is a bad word. ज्यादा सवाल नहीं पूछने होते हैं. सो दैट सेंस ऑफ इंक्वायरी वो तभी स्ट्रेंथन कर पाएंगे जब हम कल्चर ऑफ इंक्वायरी को क्या करेंगे, प्रमोट करेंगे. राइट? जब कल्चर ऑफ इंक्वायरी को प्रमोट करेंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली व्हाट वी विल रिसीव क्रिएटिविटी. we will see lots of creativity in a class. आप में से I don't know again what is the composition of my audience. I think you can come up in a class. I have again told my students in ATL labs, I always tell them like your mothers are working in kitchens. If you read physics, your students read chemistry. If you come up with a system wherein there is a gas leakage in your kitchen and there is a smart sensing device which can sense that, oh, gas leakage is there, and you're sitting in your drawing room and the buzzer rings up, and you can tell, and your mom knows that, oh, there is gas leakage. No, what are you doing? You're solving a problem. What you have read in your class, you're into the application mode. But you will only be in application mode when you were reading the methane gas, or when you were reading the compressed pressure, or LPG system in your class and you were into the mode of inquiry, when you were inquiring how to use it, when you were questioning how to use it to your teacher, and once you got the answers of all those questions, you are now clear. You go back to your home and you say your mother, Mama, now I am going to come up with a solution to a problem which may arise at any time. No, look at the beauty of education. It is not only receiving, it is applying. That is what is education all about. It is about solving the problems. The second, I tell my students that many a times one of our students have come up with a device that, for example, I am sitting in the first floor and on my third floor there is a water tank that is about to spill over. So what will happen? Again, there is a buzzer that rings up, and I say, "Oh, if it is 500-liter tank, it is the water is beyond 495 liters. So I have to just switch off the motor." These are simple things, but these are the real-time problems that we as society face, that we as a community face. And when we are able to solve problems at individual level, तभी हम societal level की problem solving को क्या कर सकते हैं, manage कर सकते हैं, solve कर सकते हैं. And once we are taking care of the society, automatically nation building happens. Nation building exercise actually starts from you. It starts from how we are contributing towards solving of some of the basic problems that we face day in and day out. So once we are solving problems at our end, at the end of the day, this will move to the next level. And what is the next level? It is the society level, it is the community level, and then it is at the national level. This is what education is all about. That is why जो आपकी नई policy on education अब आई है 2020, it talks only about skilling. That student should be skilled. If there is an engineer who passes out from an engineering college, he should be able to solve problems related to engineering. It is not that you're a mechanical engineer and you are not even able to make a water motor. No. If you are a mechanical engineer, you should be able to assemble the parts of the motor and you should be able to make that device. This is what the new education policy is all about. This is how it is different from the earlier education policy that only and only talked about the vertical progression of a student. But horizontal progression is something that is now being talked upon. And what is that horizontal progression? That horizontal progression is about opening your inner innovative faculties. जो आपकी अंदर की innovative faculties है, उनको you have to knock. Hello, I am reading, but am I solving? I am writing, but am I contributing? I am understanding. Am I only absorbing or I am seeking it? Is there sense of inquiry in my class? If not, there is something wrong that has to be changed, that needs to be changed. So sense of inquiry hai, creativity hai, and finally what it will lead to? It will lead towards entrepreneurship. You all will be one day entrepreneurs. If you recognize sense of inquiry, आप सवाल पूछते हैं, आप एप्लीकेशन मोड में हैं, सेंस ऑफ इंक्वायरी है, यू आर लॉजिकल. सो डेफिनेटली जो आपका एंटरप्रेन्योरियल माइंडसेट है वो डे बाय डे क्या होगा, इट विल मैच्योर एंड फाइनली वन डे यू विल से I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to create something of my own, and then I will definitely hire people in my organization, in my corporation, or in my startup. So this is something that we are looking, but everything starts from a very simple thing. And what is that simple thing? That simple thing is sense of inquiry. And amongst this, something which our education has always taught us, and it is with us over the ages, right from the saints to our religious leaders, to our political leaders, to our educationists. I think something that is very, very critical is leadership, ethical leadership. You cannot do everything on the cost of something which is not good. I think today we can see lots of unethical things going on. And how can you be ethical? You can only be ethical when you are a very well educated person, you are a learned individual, and you possess the capacity or capability to understand what is good and what is bad. And this is there's a very thin line today between good and bad, because what is bad for everybody, it may be good for you. At that time, are you going to compromise on your ethics or not? So that is a critical thing that you have to understand. और यहाँ पे good और bad में आप क्या choose करेंगे? It is all the matter of your experiences जो आपने past में gain किए हैं. Those experiences will give you a format or the structure जो आपको बताएंगे कि what I have to choose. Have I to choose A thing or have I to choose the B thing? So this is critical when we are talking about the education. Now, when we are talking about education, जैसा कि हम कहते आए हैं, that education is all about empowerment also. Empowerment of what? Empowerment of representation. You want to be represented. You want to be heard. You want people to listen to you. You want to tell them, hello, I'm not a second class citizen. I'm there, I'm there, I'm there. And this education will actually uplift the lives of those who have already always been marginalized. First, poverty eradication. If you want to make India a country wherein Indians will have one of the world's best standard of living, you have to eliminate poverty at the grassroots. और वो आप कैसे करेंगे? When you will make people educated, when they will be learned, not only learned, they will be having new skills. और उन skills के basis पे they will be employable. And this is how you are going to eradicate the poverty. Second, women. You want women to be the part of that mainstream, economic activities. When I say mainstream economic activities, I say that you want women to be everywhere. You want to see women in schools, you want to see women in offices, you want to see women in political parties, you want to see women in parliament, you want to see them everywhere, isn't it? बिकॉज जब तक women की पार्टिसिपेशन नहीं बढ़ेंगी, हम इक्वालिटी की बात नहीं कर सकते हैं. We cannot talk of equality until unless we talk about representation of women in all spheres of mainstream economic activities. That is very, very critical. Poverty reduction is very critical. आपको मैंने कहा women representation is critical. Then one more thing is your infrastructure. आपका हेल्थ केयर जब तक स्ट्रांग नहीं होगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कोविड हैज गिवन अस जोल्ट. Everybody is shaken. United States of America is shaken, France is shaken, Germany is shaken, China, India, we all are shaken because we were not ready to tackle such kind of a virus. Because हमारी एजुकेशन जो हेल्थ केयर एजुकेशन है उसको किसी ने कंसिडर किया ही नहीं. आई थिंक इफ आई क्वेश्चन यू हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू वांट टू बी हेल्थ केयर प्रोफेशनल्स, नो. We want either to be doctors, or we want to be engineers. So new avenues of career have emerged. Today we talk about healthcare warriors, healthcare professionals. So the COVID has actually created such opportunities right now, which earlier we never thought of, we never talked about. And education is also an enabler of, you know, when we are talking about education, like in 1968 say like 2020, what is the basic difference? I think the ease of living is there. Today we are living in those lives when we can do everything on a touch. But you imagine a world when these things were not there. So education is also changing, skill sets are also changing. So that is why education is a change agent. It brings change. It can bring revolution. You see, there are so many examples when you are talking about that the education has been the key change driver of change, right? So it actually drives the change. And education that is done by heart, because we when look at the kind of education that saints used to give. Gurukuls में कैसी education होती थी? There was no receiving, it was only and only giving away. Because when you have got that stock of knowledge, you just want to share it and share it and share it. So that is why I am have for you, maybe some have nots. आपके आसपास भी there may be lots of have nots. Please educate them, be their haves. And this is what education is all about. एजुकेशन का रिपल इफेक्ट है. आप पढ़े लिखे होंगे, आपकी आने वाली जनरेशन भी पढ़ी लिखी होगी, एंड इट इज ऑलवेज प्रोग्रेसिव. So that is why education is something which is infectious also. If one is educated, the other individual will automatically feel that I have to be better than the first one. And then the third will say, I have to be better than the both individuals. It is contagious. It has to be contagious. You have to make education contagious. And that is why the spirit of education has to be there. Why? Because I have already told you that there are many schools wherein parents are sending students to schools only because the schools are sponsoring their midday meals. Now, just imagine the government is starting such schemes to promote the enrollment of students, but the actual motive is something else. So and another thing that you need to understand is that you have to be lifelong learner. You cannot say that learning stops at a particular age. As you grow old, you become more experienced. You become more wise. You have got first-hand experiences of handling things. This is all about education. So education or आज जैसा कि being the RMOC for Atal Innovation Mission for for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, I must tell you that this is the right time when we should actually promote the sense of inquiry in our students. And I think the place where you can go and show your creativity is Atal Tinkering Labs. And I think these are the spaces which are exclusively kept for innovation, ideation, and tinkering. And government thinks that this is the age, right from class 6 to class 12, if we are engaging you as innovators in such like activities, definitely when you will pass out from the college or you will pass out from school or university, you will not be a job seeker, but you will be a job creator. That is what is the mandate of Atal Tinkering Labs. And it does not mean आपके Atal Tinkering Lab में कोई सामान है या नहीं है. आप हैं, आपका ग्रुप है फ्रेंड्स का, आप सब वहां जाइए, वहां बैठिए और सोचिए कि क्या हम इस प्रोजेक्ट पे काम कर सकते हैं. ये प्रोजेक्ट कौन सी कम्युनिटी लेवल प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करेगा, क्या कौन सी सोशल इशू को सॉल्व हम कर सकते हैं, हम कैसे करेंगे. वो एक आइडिएशन लैब भी है. वो सिर्फ एक मैकेनिकल और मैकेनाइज्ड लैब नहीं है जहां पे आपने प्रोटोटाइप्स बनाने हैं. इट इज अ लैब वेयर इन यू आर देयर टू थिंक बियॉन्ड योर, वो मैंने कहा ना, मिनिमम थ्रेश होल्ड करिकुलम, द सिलेबस, where you have to only think about thinking about something new, creating solutions, creating solutions for those problems which are critical in today in our society. Right? I can see a lot of devices today coming up with the technology that can sense the heavy traffic in bi-lanes or in four lanes. So can you come up with a device that can sense it in the Jammu region and at a cost which is lesser than what is being given by the companies who are selling their products online? I was also coming up with a project. कुछ बच्चों ने मुझे ये भी बोला कि मैम, we want to create the solar heating device because in winters Jammu is a chilled area, and when we go to our schools we have to eat those frozen lunches. So can we come up with a solar heating device, mass solar heating device, जो हम अपने स्कूल के प्लेग्राउंड में लगाएंगे और स्कूल की विसिनिटी में सेंटर में लगाएंगे, and we will not be using any electricity, but the solar energy can be trapped. उससे जो metallic surfaces है वो गर्म होंगे और finally we can have that, if not hot, but we can have that warm lunch in our winters. Now, this is a project which students are thinking about. Then one of the students from Kendra Vidyalaya Sunchwa come up with an automatic lock. And without a key, when you are coming, he identifies your face and it automatically opens up. So these are the safety devices. So you are innovating in this area of safety. So when we are talking about such like innovations, now they are not coming up from big scientists. I think जब आपने मेरा एक अटल इनोवेशन टॉक सीरीज में एक लेक्चर सुना होगा रिफत शाहरुख के का, who is the world's youngest scientist, the youngest scientist from India who made the smallest satellite and who was sponsored by NASA. और उस सैटेलाइट का नाम क्या है? कलाम सैट. अब्दुल कलाम आजाद जी के नाम पे उनको किया गया है, सैटेलाइट का नाम रखा गया. So he said that when he was only 6 years of his age, he started coding. Today this gentleman is about 15 or 16 years of age. So I think 10 years back he was doing coding. And don't do coding because everybody else is doing it. See, where is your passion? एजुकेशन इज ऑल अबाउट मेकिंग चॉइसेस. मैंने बोला ना राइट चॉइसेस, और राइट चॉइसेस का में पैशन को होना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, बिकॉज अदरवाइज इट विल गो लाइक सब कर रहे हैं मैं भी कर लेता हूँ. जैसे सब इंजीनियर बने, तो आज आपको पता है वो कैसे इंजीनियर्स हैं. दे आर नॉट प्रॉब्लम सॉल्वर, दे हैव गॉट डिग्रीज, but once their fuse goes off, they are not even able to mend the fuse. So you have to take right choices, but those choices should be backed up by some logic, by some knowledge, by some skill set, by some rationale. Okay, if you are not good in coding, you can also pick up any social issue where you can solve the problem. Right? So, Saniji, I just want to tell you, can I interact with my audience? Have I got the flexibility in this interface to interact with the audience as well? Or it is like that only? Okay. So I think this is all that I have to talk about. And very thank you to the organizers once again, Kendra Vidyalaya Bantala, for giving me this platform. I say always, I never say opportunity, because we should always find out new platforms wherein we can talk about this very nice issue, that is about education, and how it got started in 1968 or abhi tak, what were the critical changes that we actually saw. And I would like to thank all the students who are right now live seeing me, and they are just putting up their time and listening to me. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. So, thank you, Isha, ma'am. It was a very wonderful session, and it will be so much inspiring for our students that they got a chance to listen from you, which is having such a good position in our society. So, Bacho,
Thank
this
you.
was a very wonderful session. I hope you understood what the ma'am has told about the education, its necessity in today's era, and of course, for the girls. We both are here also. We both are girls, and since we have
Exactly.
yes, since we have got good education, so that's why we are here, and we are here to aware you also. So being in this society, it's very important, being a girl also being educated, and boys, they also have, they always have a good opportunity from their parents, but their right education is important. That is what their right education, behavior etiquettes, what is required in today's society. So thank you, ma'am. So
Thank you so
I
much.
hope आपको ये सब अच्छा लगा, एंड थैंक यू मैम. आपको इस तरीके से हम दोबारा बुलाएंगे, कभी सेशन हमारा होगा.
Definitely. Definitely.
ओके, थैंक यू.
Okay.
ओके
Thank you
बच्चे,
so much.
ओके बाय.
Thank
हाँ
you.
जी, नमस्कार. हाँ जी.
Thank you. Thank you.